Hi, everyone. It is Sunday, October 30th, Halloween Eve, 2022. I'm Robin, the co-host from Western Mass. So glad to be here today, and it's a beautiful day here today in Western Massachusetts. So welcome to the Morgellons Call of the Week, and I look forward to this call all week. This is where we have community, we get support, people get questions answered, and the best part is that Richard Kuhns is here with us, the author of How to Get Your Life Back from Morgellons and Other Skin Parasites. He has been in the trenches, he has suffered along with us, he has found amazing solutions, which are in his book, number one being the diet, or eating protocol, if you will. And we're really grateful. Richard is here every week. He answers questions through email and on the Sunday show. And he's done a lot of research, and he never stops. He never stops learning or revising the book. The book is currently in the 11th edition, which I think it just keeps getting better and better. And I highly recommend Richard's book. So at this point, I want to welcome a world expert on Morgellons and other skin parasites, Richard Kuhns.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you very much. Are you ready? Are you ready for all the witches and the goblins to come to your front door?
Yes. The hard part is not eating the candy. I have a friend.
Oh, you're not giving them apples instead?
No, I'm giving candy.
Okay. What shall we talk about today? Maybe the diet?
I think that would be really good. And what to do, like on Halloween, to avoid temptation.
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah.
How to alternatives.
Okay, for the new people in the program, this program is based on a diet that I named as the King Diet, simply because it's tops. It's king of them all. There is no better diet to get your life back from Morgellons and other skin parasites and mites, and even Lyme disease, than the King Diet. It is not even similar to any other diet, the keto diet, caveman diet, you name it. They are not even close to the King Diet. I mean, for instance, a simple basic thing like cooking oil is very limited on the King Diet. Rice bran oil, lard, it's animal fat, or real butter are allowed on the King Diet. No fruits, except for lime or lemon, are allowed on the King Diet. Now, if that doesn't blow your top, hey, what is there any other diet that is as restrictive as this? No, there is no diet close to this diet. So please don't tell me I'm on the diet because I'm eating healthy. That doesn't make it. Eating healthy, you can have a Tic Tac, Breath Mint. You can have a piece of gum if you're eating healthy, but not with the King Diet. It is not for the faint at heart. It is for the people who are desperate, like I was. Desperate, living 24/7 with itching and biting and no way out. Hell, the only relief I had was jump in a scalding tub of water 3 or 4 times a day to get some kind of temporary relief. I mean, scalding to the point where it burned. That's the only relief. So if you're not if you're not to that point, well, then you're probably not really for this program. Go someplace else. You'll find something on Facebook. This is for the desperate people. And because Morgellons affects us differently. Some people are minor, just not very much affected at all. They might have some lesions on their skin. They might have a little itching. And, this is often the husband of the wife who is dramatically affected. He says, I don't have any problems. So he does have some symptoms, but they're just not bothering him. And some lotion you pick up at the drugstore would probably work. And the diet, it certainly would be beneficial if he went on the diet with you, and because he may well be a carrier until his system gets clear of them as well. The point is, each of us wake up one day and we're itching and we have no idea where the hell it came from. We have lesions on our skin and we have no idea where the hell it came from. We start thinking back. What the heck did I do? Where was I that this might have happened to me? And for me, it was simply in the spring of the year, I was pulling some vines from pine trees in the backyard, and as I pulled one vine out of the pine tree, a cloud of dust descended upon me, and I paid little attention to it. After I finished pulling the vines, I went in, showered, and thought that would be the end of it. And it seemed to be. I forgot about it. 4 days later, both me and my significant other, at the very same minute, were driven nuts with itching and biting. And, of course, had to think back. We fortunately thought of a hot tub of water, which we did right away. We took turns in that hot tub, and it helped relieve some of the itching and biting, and that became a way of life. Doctor after doctor, she was a critical care nurse in the local hospital, so she knew who the best doctors were. She went to the doctors, got their prescriptions to no avail. Things worked for 3 or 4 days. We thought, well, we have it made. It's going to be history now, and then bang, it all started over like we had no treatment or had nothing done whatsoever. And that became a torturous hell for me for many months, a year or so, until someone, after I had gone to many doctors, had biopsies, had blood tests, went to dermatologists, went to specialists, had all these tests, nothing ever found in my blood other than maybe an elevated CBC count. That was about it that ever showed up. And no one had any answers, although one friend suggested maybe there's a dietary relationship. Well, since I tried all the sulfa drugs and all the medications and everything in the drugstore, and went to an iridologist and tried all the potions and things that you can think of, what the hell else did I have to lose? So I started what I call an elimination diet, and only ate eggs with no butter, just eggs. And much to my surprise, after I ate, the symptoms seemed to be dissipating, going away. Of course, I had already been aware of them in the environment and had been spraying or dusting diatomaceous earth and things like that to help the environment. Because when you wake up like I did with this thing going on and no relief from anything that you can do, by the time you figure out you have some kind of skin parasite, you have become a walking, talking breeding machine. Everywhere I went, they dropped off of me. And that place became contaminated. So in time, my home became contaminated. My automobile became contaminated. My environment at work became contaminated. And even though I could get relief from the diet and the scalding baths, whenever I went into those spaces that were contaminated, I was recontaminated from the organisms, which made it very important to also disinfect my surroundings. Now, the AMA and FDA require me to inform everybody on this program that we are not here to diagnose, treat, cure, or mitigate any disease, that before you start the King Diet or accept any of my recommendations or any of those of my coaches, you are to thoroughly discuss them with your medical doctor to make sure they do not interfere with any health problems you're presently experiencing. We can educate you how to utilize the King Diet, how to clean them out of your skin, your environment, and the targeted supplements that are compatible with the diet to build health and immune functioning. So that's background on the diet. From my experience, this goes back to the mid-90s. I really believe that the only way out of Morgellons, at least a severe case of skin parasites, is through the use of the diet. If you happen on something else that works, it's like winning the instant lottery. So you can wait around, look at Facebook, look at all the different protocols, try many different other protocols. Sure, all of them say, yeah, eat healthy, but they don't define what that is when it comes to the King Diet or even get close to it. So you can do that, or you can jump in. You know, to make the King Diet, if you follow the instructions and are good at instructions, you can get the diet to kick in as little as 7 to 10 days, and it has 3 stages. You go from stage 1 to stage 2 to stage 3, which is where I've been for years, and I can basically eat anything I want in moderation. So I have no more limitations in my life. I can eat as I wish in moderation. Now, stage 2 may take a little longer to get through, but stage 2 has more foods, is more variable than stage 1 is, which is very, very critical. Now, I have met people that, my communications with thousands of people over the years have shared with me that they've been on stage 1 for over a year. And I ask them why. And they say, hey, it works. It works. And I don't want to risk it. I don't want to take a chance because I remember the hell and I don't want to go back. When stage 1 kicks in, when you make stage 1 work, it's like this. You go from itching and biting 24/7, waking up at 3 a.m. with them in your crotch, in your ears, and in your back, and all over you, and having to jump into a scalding bath. You go from that to a night's rest, a good night's rest. Little, if any, activation. I used a scale of 0 to 6. 6 was where they were driving me out of my mind. 0 to a half was where my goal was. Not that occasionally didn't feel some crawling feelings going on, but they were certainly far better than the itching and the biting hell that came with a number 5 or 6 on that scale. So that's where it's at. So, Robin, you've been on the King Diet. Now, I said it can take 10 days for some people, or maybe even less for them to make it work. Share us your experience. You were a slow learner, weren't you?
I was. It took like 3 months. Well, it was a combination of me making mistakes and how bad my environment was.
So tell us how you got it to work and how it worked for you.
Well, I gradually, the first mistake I made was I bought stevia at the supermarket, and it's filled with like 3 different kinds of sugars. And so, I realized that I need a stevia that just says stevia. Nothing else. And I got really good at reading labels. And I just, I found I was super sensitive to spelt, to rye flour, to cocoa. I couldn't even eat much rice in the beginning, and then as things quieted down, I was able to add basmati rice, which has the least amount of sugar, and then I could add spelt flour and make my own bread. And it just took time. Plus, finally, I mean, the diet kicked in, but the environment was so bad, and every time I would work on it, I would get attacked. I went on Timazide and for 4 months, and that gave me time to almost become invisible to parasites. So I was able to, hit the environment really hard. And in combination with the diet, that really helped.
Yes, let me make a note and explain to everyone, particularly the newer people on the program. Primazide is a medication. It is typically called an antipsychotic, and it is used for people with Tourette's syndrome, which is a malady in which case basically a normal individual, for no reason or other, starts spouting obscenities out of his mouth and has no control of the words that are coming out of his mouth. I doubt that he would like to be called a psychotic, but it's an antipsychotic medication. Now, in Chapter 6, you see, the key is to make the diet work. Now, and sometimes we have cheats to help us make the diet work. For me, I didn't really need any cheats in the very beginning. It just happened to start working for me. So over the years, people reported that certain medications helped them with dealing with the symptoms. In fact, one of the early dermatologists, I saw him later in my searches for help, was familiar with an infestation of mites at a 4-H tent in a fairground. And everybody that went into that tent, that straw was infected, and they became infested with mites, and it was a big problem. And the doctors at that time used Primazide or Orap as a form of treatment, and that helped. So he prescribed for me the Orap, and that Orap allowed me to go from stage 1 and discover what stage 2 was. I had been on stage 1 for quite a lengthy period of time, and once that began using the Orap, that was my cheat to get to stage 2. Now, over the years, there have been many medications reported to have similar effect, and they are listed in Chapter 6. There's Zyprexa, there's Abilify, there is Doxepin is one of the medications. There are Seroquel. So there are about a dozen different medications, and even some over-the-counter antihistamines like Claritin and Claritin D have been reported to help. And for a long time, people reading my book or listening to me misunderstood this, because when you typically go to a doctor, when those of us who are wake up one morning and we're driven crazy with this itchiness and we can't figure out where it came from, and we start going to doctors in hope of getting a quick cure, maybe some Quell or some relief from some kind of medication that will cure it, and we find none, then the doctors, instead, they tell us we're delusional. And then they refer us to psychiatrists. And the first thing the psychiatrist usually prescribes is Orap, Primazide. All right, so they're thinking it's a psychological problem. And if they prescribe this psychotic medicine, antipsychotic medicine, then you're going to get better. Well, the amazing thing is a lot of people do get better. So the medical people think that, yes, they get better because it is really it is really a psychological problem. That these things are not real, that they are right, it's a delusion, and they're using these medications to treat the delusions. That's their diagnosis, which is far, far, far from the truth. Far from the truth. They just friggin' lucked out and found ORAP. Now, when I researched ORAP and looked into it, along with at the suggestion of one of the participants, Robin has said that you each are my research team. And a lady wrote to me that there was a research project, and I looked into the research project, and they found that reducing dopamine uptake in the brain reduced parasitic activity, and the medication they used, guess what that medication was? ORAP. Yeah, Primazide. It was so there. So you're my research team. You passed that on to me. I looked at it, and I suddenly realized why Primazide works. It reduces dopamine uptake in the brain. And then I looked at all the other 11 medications, and 10 of them listed do the same thing. One of them helps deal with cortisol, which is something else, but and serves another purpose. But they all help reduce dopamine uptake in the brain. Then along comes one of you and says, hey, if you can do it with medication, her name was Olga, why can't you find herbs that do the same thing? So we have an herbalist, Barbara, and I gave her the task, and she came up with about a half a dozen or so different herbs that do the same thing, and we began producing the herbal parasite stop formula about a year or so ago. We no longer need Primazide. We no longer need Seroquel. Of course, you may have particular issues or problems that you perhaps need them, and they will serve you two purposes, both in that they help make the diet work, and they also help with your particular psychological or medical issues. So they can serve you both ways. But if you don't have Tourette's, if you don't have schizophrenia, if you don't have need Abilify, well, our herbal parasite stop formula has become a cheat and enables you to get and help many of you to make the diet work. So now, I got reinfected about 8-9 months ago, again from my backyard here with the raccoons raiding my fish pond, and I dealt with it for a few weeks, and then I started taking the Parasite Stop herbal formula. I take one a day. I don't want to deal with them. I don't want to deal with the itching. It's my insurance policy. One capsule a day. I mean, in the beginning, you can go up to 4 or 5 capsules a day to get things under control, and then back off. And my insurance policy is 1 cap a day, and I'm happy. And the herbs also serve other functions as well. If you look the formula up on our store, you can see a list of all the herbs and all the other things that they also serve in benefiting your health and well-being. So, great. So that's the thing on Primazide. Now, another cheat is boosting glutathione. Glutathione, and I'm a very strong proponent for boosting glutathione. I, from my experience, believe it is the first and most important thing to do in any health problem you're dealing with. And that's because over the years, our body becomes deficient in glutathione, and with all the stresses, with physical stress like being sick from Morgellons, from radiation, from pollution, from all the different stresses, our body needs more and more. And if you're taking acetaminophen or Tylenol or any of those similar kinds of medications, it zaps glutathione. put you in a negative right away. They should outlaw those medications because they are anti-health, really, anti-health. Now, do I take Excedrin? Maybe 1 or 2 a year. That's it. It works for me, but that's all I use. And so I'm not saying never ever use them, but there are so many people that take them day in and day out as a more kind of like a habit. And there are other ways. Boost your glutathione. Now, we have several methods of doing that. We have a Max 1 formula, and we also have an N-acetylcysteine formula. So, from my particular experience, maybe 15 years, nothing was working. Absolutely nothing was working. And I was on the diet, so I know what it feels like. You can go on the diet and you're expecting it to work, and it doesn't work. And I couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. And one day we were about to have, I was at work and we were about to have a luncheon, and I was at my desk itching, and in front of me I had a bottle of Max 1, and I have no idea why, but just instinctively I took a capsule, and that was it. 10 minutes later, all the itching gone from like 4 or 5 down to 0. So I discovered that boosting Max 1 is also a cheat. I mean, boosting glutathione through the use of Max 1 is another cheat. Now, more recently, thanks to Mary, our greeter, I had for years and years speculated that this thing is pheromone driven, that the difference between us and people who are basically unaffected by these organisms is pheromones. I mean, Randy Wymore of Oklahoma State University many years ago researched it in depth, and he could find no reason. It's not your blood pressure, it's not the kind of diseases you have, it's not the kind of food that you eat, it's not the kind of environment you live in. He looked at all the different factors except pheromones, and he could find no reason why one person would be infected as opposed to another person. And I've always suspected that pheromones are a contributing factor. And thanks to Mary, we do have pheromones in the store. And Mary, would you share how you use them as a cheat? Now, pheromones, Max 1, the parasite stop formula, none of them are a cheat for the King diet. None of them will replace it. None of them replace it. They are cheats to help make the diet work more effectively. So can you share with us your experience with pheromones?
Sure. I was looking at pheromones, trying to find something that would be suitable, and the one that I came across that was best suited is just strictly pheromones with some essential oils added in. That's all that's in there. And I found that if I, did the bath and then rinsed off in the shower and took some of the pheromone oil, rubbed it all over my body and my face, it made me almost invisible to the parasites that function off of pheromones. And again, like Richard said, you have to be on the diet. If you're not on the diet, it doesn't work. But if you're on the diet and you're like me, you're super sensitive and you can hardly eat anything, that this is a stopgap measure that really helps.
So the diet is super important, and over the years we've developed products, techniques to make it work faster, quicker, so that you don't necessarily have to wait to 3 months. But even so, now it took Robin 3 months to realize it, make the diet kick in. But she knew the diet was the way to go long before that, right, Robin? It didn't take you 3 months to realize, the diet is going to work.
No, I realized I had to make it work.
And how soon did it realize, once you started experimenting or once you started the diet, How soon did you realize that it was going to work, but you had some work to do to make it work?
I realized that right away. It's just that it was a learning process.
Correct. So you don't have to wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks to realize that diet's going to work. You can see cause and effect. That's what we're looking at, cause and effect. So once you see and you get a taste of that diet and you have that diet work even just for 4 hours, you know it's working. And then if it's not there, it's not because it doesn't work. It's because you made a mistake. You got reinfected from the environment, or you ate something that is not on the diet. Or some people found, as Robin shared in the beginning, there are grains that are on the diet. For instance, spelt is on the diet, rye is on the diet, and rice is on the diet. And in the beginning, she could not have those grains. So it's a progressive diet. It's important to keep a diary. So if you're having difficulties, keep a diary like I did. And notice how you feel before you eat. Write it down. And then 20 minutes after you eat, notice if you have any activity. If you have activity, well, then it's an indication that you ate something that is not good for you to have right now. Now, there are many people for whom the diet is pretty easy. They are already on some kind of healthy diet. It might be the keto diet or some caveman diet. So they know about good food and bad food, and for them, it's a little tweak. So the caveman diet and the keto diet, all right, it's a tweak. So out with the oils, out with the fruits for now, and they're pretty much in the realm of the king diet, although out with the soy as well. And there are probably 35 different ways that soy shows up in the foods that we eat, and particularly canned food. So as Robin noted before, everything that you buy that comes in a can or in a package, you want to read those ingredients. It's healthier to stay away from things that come in packages and cans, and you don't have to have anything in packages and cans in the beginning, because the king diet is pretty much a raw diet, raw vegetables and real meats, and that's in the yes.
You got some packaged chicken and turkey. They are injected with sugar and other things. I mean, you still have to read labels on packages.
That's right.
I was shocked when I saw that.
Yeah, that's true, and particularly like even ham, they load it up with salt that has sugar in it and all that kind of stuff. So, right. When I say packaged food, I'm talking about stuff like from General Mills or places like that. All cereals are out. They're basically mostly garbage anyway. So, okay, now what else can we talk about with a diet, making it work? Any ideas? Anything to add?
Well, we could, in stage 2, in terms of cereals, there's Rice Krispies, and you can make Rice Krispie treats. In stage 2, marshmallows seem to be okay.
True.
Right? And sometimes I would just roast marshmallows over my stove to have something sweet. And and there's cream of rice, Red Barn cream of rice hot cereal. You just have it with butter and salt or a little stevia. It's delicious in the wintertime.
So yes, the diet can be expanded as you get through, when you make stage 1 work and you have it working for several days straight, you can begin experimenting with stage 2 foods. Now, stage 2 foods could be green apples, Granny Smith, can be bananas, can be walnuts, can be macadamia nuts. So
Brazil nuts.
Brazil nuts, wonderful. So you can begin adding those one at a time in limited amounts. You don't want to go over the top and eat 2 bananas or 2 apples all at once. You know, add a half a banana, add half an apple, a few nuts, as opposed to going crazy over it. And then you go from there. And marshmallow is a possibility. It is a possibility. But you want to keep a diary and see if you react. Now, the interesting thing about the King diet is that there is a delayed effect. Now, in the very beginning, when you're itching and going crazy, and you get your environment, you start spraying ammonia, doing whatever you need to do in the environment to try to tame it down, and you start the diet, then within 20 minutes of consuming something, you may have no reaction, and the diet is already kicking in. It's that fast. And if you continue with that, making no mistakes, having no Tic Tacs for breath mint or no gum to chew, and making absolutely no mistakes, within 2 or 3 days, you can be on cloud 9, having, I'm cured, yay! No, you're not cured. No. Hey, don't get on your high horse yet. You're just riding it, okay? You're just riding the horse. That horse can buck you off any minute. So, but you can be like on cloud 9, feeling that, wow, this is working. And it is. And then after a few days more, no reactions. And you think, got a birthday party coming up. And you go to the birthday party and there's a piece of cake. And, well, hell, I got cured. So you can have that cake. Yeah, go ahead, have that cake. Enjoy it. And guess what? You will feel no activity. No activity. And you think, man, I think I'm cured. I can eat anything I want now. And then you have another piece of cake. And no activity. And wow, you're really on cloud 9 now. But what happens about 2 or 3 days later? It's all over. You're back where you started. It's all over. The rug has been pulled out from under you. The horse has bucked you off. So there's that delayed response. I remember going out to a very nice restaurant, and I was on cloud 9, and I had, by mistake, I had a marinated steak. I didn't know it was marinated. I'm learning about cooking back then, and that steak was delicious. And I had no problem with it for maybe 3 or 4 days. And then, boom, 7 days of hell, because that oil really took its toll and fed those organisms, and they were hungry, and they loved it, and they rewarded me with itching and biting. And then it took me a few days to get back on the diet and making it work again. So it doesn't take long to know that the diet is the right way to go. We had a lady share last week that, to make the diet work, if you question it, I often suggest, okay, just you can fast for 3 days. Don't fast any longer than that unless you're under a medical supervision, because ketosis can kill you, can destroy your life, okay? So no longer, never. Just fast with water and no food. You'll see it, that it works. Then the alternative, the far better alternative, is to just have beef broth. Get some soup bones or what is that? Imagine is the
yeah, and I found another one that's even better than Imagine. It's I can't remember the name. I'll have to email it to you.
So Imagine is one of the beef broth that you can buy that's compatible with the King diet, or you can go to the butcher and get some
Zoop. Z-O-U-P.
Zoop. Okay. Or you can go to the butcher and get some bones from the butcher and bring them home and put in your high quality water. Never use tap water, okay? And boil them. You can add in some celery, you can add in some onions, you can add in some leeks, you can add in some cabbage, you can add in some carrots. No way, no carrots. No carrots.
Right.
No corn. All right. All right.
Spinach, I was thinking spinach. You said carrots, and I was thinking spinach.
See how normal we think of always putting carrots and things like this? No way, no carrots, no corn. Okay. So leeks and spinach and cabbage and celery, they're all fine. Kale, yeah, they're all fine. But and make that your broth. And believe me, it's nutritious, and you will also notice that the diet starts kicking in. That's proof of the pudding. Oh, one other diet killer, and that is the multiple vitamin that you've been taking. What do we do with the multiple vitamins they've been taking?
Put them in a box and put them at the back of your shelf somewhere.
Send them to the moon for now.
Yeah.
There is not one multiple vitamin available in this country except the one that we have in our store that is compatible with the King diet. All of them have ingredients, no matter if they say soy-free, fish-free, and all this free, gluten-free, they always have some kind of ingredient like maltodextrin or something else in them that is not compatible, diglycerides, and I don't know why they put this stuff in these vitamins because, now there is a difference. The multiple vitamin that we have in the store really smells like a multiple vitamin. It really smells like one. It's a real vitamin. So that's the difference. Now, as far as other vitamins go, or supplements, you want to read the ingredients very carefully. Generally, the actual ingredients, the active ingredients, are, for the most part, okay, but you need to watch them as well. It's the other ingredients listed at the bottom that you want to be careful, that make sure there's no lecithin in there, that's a form of soy, by the way, and there are 30 different ways soy can show up. Citric acid. Citric acid can be derived from soy or from something else, but we have never any idea from the labeling where it's derived from. So we don't take a chance with citric acid. So you need to watch the labels very, very carefully.
Different people have different levels of sensitivity, and what works for one person may not work for another.
And that's a good reason for keeping a diary. And read chapter 4. Many people, and that's a good point, they write me and say, well, is this okay for the diet? Might be some strange plant that only grows in Korea. I have no idea. I don't know. Or some food like that. So in chapter 4, it tells you make the diet work. Make it work, and as soon as you get it to working, then you have some of that food. In the beginning, I thought that all mushrooms were a problem. Over the years, I've discovered that there's a black mushroom that is fine. There's a red mushroom. In fact, there's a brand of coffee that has it that is fine. So not all mushrooms are a problem. You need to test them. And when it comes to even ginger, I used to think that all ginger was a problem, but it's not the crystallized ginger, the powdered ginger, that's fine. It's the ginger root that is a problem. And we have a blog post that explains why that's so. I don't exactly remember why that is, but there is a difference between ginger root and the powdered ginger. So, okay, I guess that wraps up this portion of the program.